I'm about to tell you the story about how I risked my life to save my life. So last year, which was freshman year of college for me, I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder as well as panic disorder. Now, I knew that I had these disorders, but it was definitely comforting to have a professional tell me, yeah, you're not crazy. You have chemical imbalances in your brain. At the same time, I had a friend down the hall who had an emotional support cat, and her doctor recommended her, and everything seemed to be going really well with that relationship. This friend also had anxiety. I started researching cats for adoption. Now, the one stipulation was that even though I would be living with this pet on my own in my dorm or now my apartment, I had to bring it home for holidays and for the summer, and my dad would not have a cat without it being declawed. And I would never declaw a cat. It is inhumane, and if you were to cut the knuckle off of a human, that's parallel to declawing a cat. I had to search for a pre-declawed cat, and there are not many of those out and about. After around 5 cats I had found, fallen in love with, and found out to be already unavailable, I found Bean. This is Bean. She was at the Quincy Humane Society. When I found Bean, I called the Quincy Humane Society and she was still available, which was big news. So Bean was available. Bean was at the Quincy Humane Society. All was well, except there was a 48-hour hold limit, which meant that once I said that I wanted to adopt Bean, I had to get to Quincy within 48 hours or else I lost my hold and anybody else could adopt her. In the middle of February, where the roads were not safe to drive on, I got in my car at 6:30 in the morning, left Truman to head down to Quincy so that I'd get there when they opened. The roads were terrifying, mostly because it had just iced on the roads and nobody had been out yet to drive them down. But I finally got to Quincy, and since I hadn't had my emotional support animal forms, I had to drive her to St. Louis. So I got her, never met the cat before. The people at the Humane Society asked, "Are you sure you don't want to meet her before you adopt her?" And I said, well, I might try. So I went and I met her, and she was sweeter than I could have imagined. She was perfect, she purred. So I signed the forms, I paid the fee, and I drove her to St. Louis to my parents' house. She was yowling the whole way, but every time I would pet her, she felt calm again, and that made me feel like we were going to bond really well. I brought her home to my family. She was a little scared of them, but not of me, which also made me feel secure that I had done the right thing in adopting this cat. And after that, I had to leave and go back to Kirksville with Bean in St. Louis. So it was kind of tough because I had adopted this cat for my own mental stability, and here she was 3 hours away from me. I was at college dealing with everything else that was piling on top of me, building up my mental instability. But this is why quarantine for me was actually not a bad deal, because I got to go home and be with Bean for the rest of the semester. And now I'm in an apartment off campus, and Bean is here. She's my emotional support cat, prescribed by my doctor. Thank you, Suburban Pediatrics. And I couldn't be happier. So if you're having mental health issues in any realm, I would strongly consider getting an emotional support animal. It's the best. It's responsibility, but I think it could really help a lot of people. But try not to do it if you have to drive on thick ice for an hour and a half. Thanks for listening.